Hi everyone, Adrian here, mortgage broker based in Sydney. In this video we're going to be going over something that property investors need to see and hear. Everything happening in the Victoria market at the moment. I cannot believe it. The Victorian Premier Daniel Andrews to freeze rents and cap increases will force investors to abandon the housing market and make the rental crisis worse. Investors and Australia's largest real estate group warn. So there's a lot of backlash that's coming in at the moment, and there's a lot of real estate groups saying that rent caps don't work. We've got examples in many other countries where rent caps don't work. And they're essentially saying that if he implements this law, and then we've got rampant amount of second and third wave of inflation, that all of these investors are going to be selling their properties. And why wouldn't they? Because if you're having to cop the added increases across the board in your rates, in your council, in your electric, in your water, depending on how you're setting up your lease agreements on who pays what, your land rates are going up, your insurances are going up, your cost of tradies and maintenance is going up, everything is going up. And under a Daniel Andrews government, because of the huge budget deficit that they're in at the moment, we're in this situation where he thinks that he's the scapegoat for the whole state is going to be the investors. And what are we seeing right now across the country? We're seeing vacancy rates under 1%. Okay, and what else? A housing shortage and a rental shortage. All right, so when every one of the investors in the Victorian market see this, if it goes through, you will have mass capital flight out of Victoria. And when this happens, all of the other states will see what's happened and they will not follow suit, because if they do, the same capital flight will happen in those areas as well. All right, so let's also have a look as well. Under this plan, the plan is also expected to include a tax on hotel stays and short-term rentals, including Airbnb, floated to be up to $5 per booking. It is expected to raise millions of dollars for the heavily indebted state government across nearly 60,000 rooms available. All right, so they're talking about, so the government has argued a tax would boost supply in the long-term rental market, but the proposed move would put further pressure on landlords already struggling to meet the fast rising mortgage repayments. Okay, the next one. The proportion of properties being sold by investors has risen steadily through the year, reaching a record of 40% in Sydney in June and a near 36% in Melbourne, compared to about 30% of the total listings a year ago. Each of these properties sold to an owner-occupier reduces the already tight supply of rental properties. Okay, and at the end, I'm just going to talk about my approach to this. Everyone knows that I'm holding a lot of properties in Brisbane, and if I can get further residential lending, that lending will be for the Queensland market and the WA market, mainly because I'm using corporate trust to increase my borrowing power. And every corporate trust gets a separate land tax threshold. All right, so the majority of my base build of investment properties will be in these two states. Okay, and after I'm said and done, when I buy the main house and the granny flat, okay, at the time, I'm normally over 8% gross yield on cost. Okay, and yield on debt is closer to the 9 to 10% mark. All right, so if this was me in the Victorian market, which it is not, I would be doing granny flats if I'm going to be staying in that state. Main reason is granny flats. If I'll give you an example, let's use one of my examples in the Newcastle market. The main house was rented at $510 and we were going to put it up to $530, but then we put the granny flat on. Okay, so we said, what is the total yield that we can get on a 3-bed, 1-bath, 2-car in the front and a 2-bed, 1-bath, 1-car granny flat on the back? So we looked around and we could find a max of about 480 on the front. So that's what we're doing. We're making a small reduction. And then on the back, we think we can get about 400 rent, give or take. And the backyard's sectioned off with a fence, so it's separate. The parking is separate, as well as separate water, separate electric. And they've got a nice yard for each property, so it does not look and feel like a granny flat. All right. So in that example, I'm getting a blended yield of about 480 and 400, so 880. Okay, so in these kind of examples in Victoria, if you're putting a granny flat on the back, you're not caring as much with only being able to do one increase in rent per 2-year period, because a lot of the time you're doing far less increases, especially when you're not trying to squeeze as much out of the main house as what you would be doing if the granny flat was not there. Okay, so these kind of policies are not going to affect me or my investor base or my investor group as much as everyone else. And, but the majority of my cash flow is coming from the WA market and the Queensland market when I'm said and done. And most likely I'll buy 2 or 3 properties in all of the other states after I've built my cash flow base first. And then between 5 to 10 properties that I will not be putting a granny flat on the back, around the kind of 300k mark. I'm hoping they go up to 5 to 600k, and then I use those to sell and then clear portions of my debt. That's my overall strategy at this point in time. All right, so we've got to be very open about what we're seeing in the market and these changes, and these state governments thought that they could do and say everything they wanted in 2020. We all know what happened. I can't say what happened exactly on YouTube, but we all know, lockdowns galore, run the state into the ground, and then, using investors as a scapegoat for how bad their budgets are right now. Can see this happening a little bit more, but I'll be interested to see if this actually comes in, because there's a lot of heavy money and big lobby groups in the real estate industry, and they know exactly what's going to happen if this is implemented. So hopefully we're getting that good information out there. If you need any help, there's a link in Calendly in the description box below. Book an appointment. We can help you get those granny flat deals and do the finance behind it and make sure you're not capped on your borrowing power. All right, hit that like button, hit that comment button, and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you on the next video. Have a good day. Bye.